strategically and for purpose. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. And thank you for the wonderful introduction and for my inclusion in this conversation. I'd like to begin with a statement that I learned from my mentor, Miss Elizabeth Metters. Kiss to you. She has been my guide throughout my journey so far of collecting. She has the most extensive, comprehensive collection in the world. She told me something that I'll never forget. It has been a guide for me. History, without documentation, is just folklore. That statement has informed my collecting throughout. Let me explain why, and I'll show you my journey. I first started collecting in the 80s. When I got my first apartment, I wanted to decorate my home with images and artifacts that reflected the African American aesthetic. I wanted to have rare, valuable artifacts that celebrated the triumphs and the achievements of African American people. I wanted everyone that entered into my apartment to know immediately that this is the home of an African American person, for sure. When I started my search, the first items that I ran across were ceramic items like cookie jars, ashtrays, salt and pepper shakers, tray cards, sheet music, stuff like that. And I was told that these were rare, pricey, highly sought after collectibles. And I was also led to believe that these items represented Black heritage. Among the first rare items that I acquired was an Aunt Jemima Mammy cookie jar. And I'll just share the screen and just show you what I'm talking about, okay? This is a mosaic tile cookie jar that originally appeared in 1943 for the Mosaic Tile Ceramic Company. And this jar is worth $600 at this point. And there are various other versions of it that are even worth even more, you know. This is sheet music from the from the Gold Dust Twins and one of their advertisements. Now, the Gold Dust Twins advertisements in the washing powder featured Goldie and Dusty. And their slogan was, let the Gold Dust Twins do your washing for you. Let them wash everything that's black and dirty, white and clean. And unfortunately, they represented black and dirty. This is from the Coon Chicken Inn restaurant. It emerged between 1925 and 1931. They had 3 locations: Salt Lake City, Utah, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon. They used the coon image there, and they felt that that logo promoted the authenticity of Southern style cooking. You can see on the photograph there that you enter into the restaurant through the mouth of the coon image. These are just a few examples of some of the things that I collected in my journey. Let's see how do we go back.
How do we go?
Stop here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So here, there you go. So during the time I started going to antique malls, auctions, collector shows, and along the journey, I met advanced collectors that taught me about the importance of preserving the history of Africans in America. I started learning about Black inventors, artists, doctors, activists, and politicians, and collecting artifacts that honored the legacy of pioneers in the Black experience that had been hidden, overlooked, or just merely forgotten. Such things as this. Here we go. This is an original can of hair preparation from the iconic, the one and only Madam C.J. Walker. She's the first female self-made millionaire in America. Can you believe that I am holding in my hand a piece of history, and how personal it is because it's African American, belongs to me. Okay, well, okay, all right. Let me show you another iconic figure. Josephine Baker. In French, Josephine Baker. I love her. She is one of my most prized possessions. Josephine Baker, the statue, the felt hair, okay, the banana skirt, and all. This is my love, one of my most cherished possessions. I got this at the French flea market, Marché à Puce. This is a really important replica of the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington, D.C. It has all the insignia on the sides or whatever, exact scale model of the museum in Washington, D.C., the memorial. These are collectibles that are so valuable and so important to have in a collection. A few years ago, I came to realize that my collection consisted of many rare and valuable items. Some revealed the evidence of the existence of real people and their achievements, and others were fictitious stereotypes that never existed, but strangely, they were perceived as real people. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. In 1819, the Pearl Milling Company, okay, created the mascot Aunt Jemima to sell pancake mix. In 1963, the McDonald Corporation created Ronald McDonald, a mascot to sell hamburgers. So we have Aunt Jemima and we have McDonald's Ronald McDonald mascots. Okay. Willard Scott was hired to be the first Ronald McDonald. You know Willard Scott. We all love Willard Scott. He was a weatherman, and in fact, Willard Scott was the first Bozo the Clown. And he created Ronald McDonald. He was the first person to don the outfit of Ronald McDonald. And similarly, the pancake company, Aunt Jemima, the milling company, hired this woman, Nancy Green. She was the first person to impersonate Aunt Jemima, the mascot, Aunt Jemima. An image, okay, both of these are iconic, okay, images that were what? Okay, mascots created to sell a product. Now let me ask you a question. Did the Willard Scott, using example, this is what I want you to do. Did the Ronald McDonald image indicate that white people are all clowns? No. Did the Aunt Jemima image indicate that all Black people are maids, cooks, and servants? No. They're mascots that were created to produce, to sell products. Just mascots, fictitious mascots, images that never existed. As a matter of fact, Black people have never been pickaninnies, coons, mammies, sambos, diggers, niggers, none of those things. These are all names and images that were created to humiliate, marginalize, and disparage Black people. And back in 1945, several advocacy groups such as the NAACP protested and demanded that the derogatory depictions of African Americans would no longer be tolerated. Okay, I digress. Very often people ask me the question, where did these objects come from and who made them? I tell them that these derogatory objects emerged after the Civil War and the abolition of slavery in 1865. Historians say that these depictions of African Americans were created to reflect the resentment and intense anger of some white Americans, especially in the South, that were being forced to live in a free society. Question number 2, what purpose do these serve? Well, these many collectibles should be used as tools to educate us about a dark period in American history. And now these objects serve as sentinels, warning us never to let this happen again. Why do you collect and display these images in your home if you have all of this history about derogatory images? And it's a likely question. My answer, I collect to preserve these objects for future generations to see. As I told you, history without evidence is just legend. The racist images should not be destroyed. These images provide tangible proof this period in American history did take place, especially now with the recent removal of Aunt Jemima from the shelves in grocery stores. Okay. Now let's smile for a minute. Have you ever seen this collectible? The Obamas at the White House, and the salt and pepper shakers, and then what's considered nodders. I love this. And you know what it reminds me of? I remember at the Democratic National Convention, Michelle Obama said, and I quote, "Every morning I wake up in a house that was built by slaves." What did she say? Has she lost her mind? What did she do? Historians went bananas. Everybody went running for their research. And then they slowly came walking back. Not only did they build the White House, they also built the Capitol. Get back to me. Evidence, it's important. It's all we have to go on. I'm going to end with this. My love. Do you know her? Esther Jones. She was actually known as Little Baby Esther. That was her stage name. She was the inspiration for the one and only Betty Boop. She was a performer, a vaudevillian performer that performed during the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s at nightclubs like the Cotton Club in Harlem. She was best known for the unique way she ended all of her performances. You know what I'm talking about? Betty Boop? You ever see her style? Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Here we go. Let's see if I can do it right. Here's how she always ended. Boppity, 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 bop. Boop, boopy doo. Thank you.
Leonard, thank you so much for that just wonderful presentation and for placing all those fascinating objects in important context in your unique and phenomenal way. You can see what a joy Leonard has been to work with and all of our speakers this morning. So we thank you all, and we're going to bring you all back for a little bit of conversation.